Hi there. Thank you once again for choosing AeroW&B as your weight and balance calculator app. This is the third video in a series of 3 describing how AeroW&B works. If you'll remember, in the first video we gave you a brief overview of the app. We did a simple weight and balance calculation utilizing some sample data that's built into the app in the form of an example of a Cessna 172 aircraft. In the second video, we created some aircraft data and showed you how you would do that for your own aircraft. We did this in the form of the entry of a PA-28 aircraft, and you can see that here. The Cherokee is a fairly simple aircraft, and it was fairly straightforward to put in. So we're going to build on that knowledge now, and we're going to create an aircraft that's a bit more complex. We'll show you some of the features, some of the things you can do to support more complex aircraft, and we'll show you some of the more advanced calculations that AeroW&B will do. So let's get started. We'll start by creating an aircraft type. A couple things to note here. First of all, you'll see that we're using an iPad instead of the iPhone that we used before, and that's just to simply show you a different interface. When we created the PA-28, we tapped the menu. Of course, the menu covered the whole screen. Here in the menu, it's a little bubble in the top left, and we can select, for example, the aircraft we want to display this way. When we created the PA-28, we went ahead and said create aircraft and then linked straight to the aircraft type editor. We're going to do a little bit different here, and I'm going to go create the type first, and then we'll go back and create the aircraft and link to it. Either way will work. You can do it either way you want. It's just a little bit of flexibility. So let's go ahead and select aircraft type. Now I've gone ahead and done a little bit of it already, just in the interest of moving things along here for you. Everything that I've done is the same as I did for the PA-28 example, and I've just simply left the new stuff behind. So we'll take care of that now. I'm going to go ahead and select the DA-42, and you see some of the data is here, and as we'll see, some of it isn't. Common name I've simply put in as a diamond. We've stayed with North American calibration. Here we got a few stations that we're going to add that you haven't seen yet. I've created the basic stations, some seats and some baggage areas, and we've gone ahead and put some maximum weights and named them and all that. Now we're going to show you putting in a second fuel station. The DA-42 has 2. So once again, we're going to go to the Add Station button down here. And in the past, where we showed you entering a new fuselage station, now we'll select fuel station. Creating a new fuel station puts the station down here, as you can see. It's just simply a default name called no fuel. Now when a fuel station is created, internally in its calculator, AeroW&B also creates a trip fuel station. That is fuel used during the trip that you're going to fly. And this is to facilitate the calculation of landing weight. So we'll go ahead, put our new fuel, and I'm going to change the name to aux fuel. So we're going to get going here, type in here. One thing you'll notice is I've tapped in there and the keyboard isn't appearing. I'm doing this demo on a MacBook right now, and I just have the keyboard linked to the MacBook keyboard itself. It'll move things along a little quicker for the video here. Of course, when you enter your data using your iPad or your iPhone, the keyboard will appear. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and call this auxiliary fuel. We're going to go put the arm in, which is 39.4 inches. And you'll notice when we put a fuel tank in, instead of a max weight entry here that we had for our fuselage stations, we have a fuel tank volume. And you'll notice here it says gallons. So we've selected North American calibration for this aircraft, so it's going to ask for gallons. Had you selected fuel calibration to metric, it would ask that you put in liters. We're going to go ahead and put in 26.4 gallons. And you see the new fuel tank is there. Now the DA42 uses a fluid-based anti-ice system. That is, fluid is loaded into a tank, and then when it's needed to deal with icing situations, it's forced out through the leading edges of the wings and is dumped overboard. Consequently, when you use it, the aircraft weight becomes slowly lighter as time goes by. We're going to create a consumable station to deal with that. So we'll go ahead and put that in. And you'll note that it defaults to the name de-ice. However, if you have some other type of consumable that you need to deal with, whether it's agriculture spraying, I guess, or any kind of other expendable devices to drop, you can change the name to that. We're going to go ahead and put this one in, de-ice, at 39.4, at a maximum station weight of 73.6 pounds. Some of the sharp-minded of you have probably noticed that I've put the same station in as I did for the auxiliary fuel. That's because I put the wrong one in here. So let's go ahead and set this to the proper value. Alright, so now we have all our stations put in. You see, if you make a mistake, it's fairly easy to correct. If we select Edit, we showed you in the past you were able to delete fuselage stations, but we were not able to delete fuel stations because there was only one. Now that we have more than one, we have the ability to delete one of them if so required. We can also change the order of the stations if we require, but we cannot bring them into another section. In the same way, we can't bring these two up into any other section. Let's move on to the weight and balance limits. I've gone ahead and done all the tedious work of entering the overall weight and balance envelope in the same manner as I did for our PA28 in the second video. Now we're going to add some limits. So down here we have the Add Extra Limit button here, the plus sign. We'll tap on that once, and you see we have some choices. With our PA28, we entered the utility category, and it asked for a maximum utility weight and the AFC figure. We're going to go ahead and enter a maximum zero fuel weight because our DA42 requires it. And here's just an overall weight. And then in our case, it's 3,891 pounds. And you'll see that weight becomes entered, and the weight is actually enunciated over here. These limits are editable, so you can change them if you want by dragging them, or you can tap them and add them and edit them in the traditional manner if you like. Our DA42 is just a straight 3891, so we're going to go ahead and undo those two, and you see everything's back nicely. We also have a maximum landing weight to contend with, and that one is 3979. If we have another limit that you want to enter, you have the opportunity to do that as well, simply using the other utility. In this case, we give it a name. Whatever it can be, whatever you want. This will just be for your own reference. The app will not make calculations based on that. An aircraft I flew at one point had a maximum weight allowable for flying into icing conditions. So we can put that in, and you see it'll just come up with whatever you've labeled it there. We can tap on that and remove it, and you see the whole limit goes away. Oh, one more thing we can show you. When we enter those, all the points are entered in this way. They can be edited if you need be. So once you have them all in, you can go ahead and fine-tune these as required. I've entered the performance data. I've selected complex presentation. By selecting this, the weight and balance calculator will, in addition to takeoff weight, it will also calculate for you zero fuel weight, landing weight, and it'll also give you a landing weight with the consumables expended. Additionally, you will get warnings about overweight conditions on those calculations. Our aircraft does not have a gear up datum shift. If the wheels on your retractable gear aircraft happen to swing forward, you'll note that in the gear up configuration there will be a minor change in balance figure, and you can account for that here. I selected Jet A fuel. Oops. And you'll remember from the selection setup here, Jet A was one of the choices. And that's pretty much it. We've gone ahead and created the data for a relatively complex aircraft, the DA-42. So I'll dismiss that, and you'll see we don't see anything yet because we haven't created any aircraft of that type yet. We've gone ahead and created an aircraft. We've created the type. Now we're going to create an aircraft and link to it. So the first thing you'll see is the two aircraft that we previously created, and they are linked to their aircraft. And I'm just bringing up my numbers here. We're going to go ahead and create the aircraft. We'll enter a unique registration. We'll enter our aircraft weight. The arm value for it. See, our save button isn't available yet. What we have left to do is link it to one of our saved aircraft types. If you remember when we did the PA-28, we entered aircraft data, the type wasn't here. We went ahead and said create new type. In this case, we're going to go ahead and just select our diamond that we just finished creating. See, the save button is available. We'll go ahead and save that. Everything's good, success. And when we dismiss that alert, we see our aircraft is here and available. So now I'm just going to go through the similar trip to what we did in the intro video, the overview of the app, and we're going to plan a little weekend trip away. And we'll make this one a little bit longer. I've gone ahead and entered the combined weight of myself and my passenger in the front, and we've put some baggage into the back of the aircraft. I've loaded up full fuel. In the case of the main tanks on the Diamond, that was 50 gallons. And we set a trip fuel of 15 gallons. We're going to bump that up to 25. And you see it's fairly straightforward, and it's automatically calculated for us. Now, as before when we did a trip, the kids decided they wanted to come with us. So I'm going to put their combined weight in the back. A couple of teenagers, 290 pounds. We put their weight in. You see now we have actually a couple of problems. First of all, center of gravity has moved way to the back. Now we can account for that. We can move our baggage up forward a little bit, and I'll do so. And we'll just put it into the, instead of going all the way back into the baggage extension, we'll just put it, try it over here. Still no good. So we can move it up to the nose. As you can see, the app is fairly versatile in moving things around to get your load set up for you. We do have another big problem though. The zero fuel weight calculation is above the maximum zero fuel weight for the aircraft. The landing weight is above the maximum landing weight. The landing weight we could probably deal with by loading a little bit less fuel. You know, if we go to sort of 32 gallons, say, accept that. That we can deal with. However, our zero fuel weight is above, and that's not much we can do. We're going to have to tell the kids they're staying home this weekend. So we're going to take them out. We'll put it back down to zero. Our weight down is down to the back. I'm going to go ahead and move the bags back into the baggage extension in the back. And we'll take this one out. So now our trip is actually looking pretty good. Now, on the day of the trip, we're going to go, we realize, oh, weather's not that good. We might have to do an IFR trip. Well, can we still do our trip with IFR reserves? Well, all right, let's have a look here. We'll go back to fuel estimate utility. So we'll set our speed at 155. This time the trip is a little further. We're going 3,500 or 350 miles. Okay. Because we're going to try IFR, we'll set the altitude to 8,000. And in this case, all I did was put in 8. And because it's such a low number, the app will assume I mean 8,000 and automatically put that in there for me. We're now IFR, so I'll go ahead and select IFR operations. And as you can see, a bunch of new options have shown up here. We need 35 gallons to get to our destination. However, the total required for the flight plan is actually over 50, it's 57 gallons. We set our distance to 100 miles from the destination to the alternate. We're going to climb to 4,000 feet for that, overhead of the airport, and we set our approach fuel for 15 minutes. That'll add 15 minutes to the fuel required to your destination for the destination calculations, and it'll also add 15 minutes to the time required to the alternate as far as fuel goes. We can amplify once again here, and we see quite a few more calculations. All those two main numbers broken down into their individual components with the totals calculated down here, and plus some useful calculations added on the bottom. 57.3 gallons is the minimum for our flight plan. We'll go ahead and load that up into our app. I'm going to round it up to the next 60 here, to the next 10. That'll give us, and we'll go ahead and dismiss that. And you'll see now our fuel, 350 pounds, 70 in there, so that's our 60 gallons. We look at the weather a little bit closer and we realize that there's going to be maybe some icing. We should load some de-icing fluid. So I'm going to go ahead and load that. We'll just load the tank full up. We'll accept that. And you'll see now our zero fuel weight is increased. Our balance has moved quite a bit forward because this tank is quite a bit forward in the aircraft. But you'll notice now you also have a second calculation on the chart here. And basically that is the weight and balance with the de-ice fluid consumed. As you can see, it's moved back. So we have a landing weight with the de-icing fluid intact, assuming we don't use it, and the landing weight, assuming that we do use it. However, it's all working out pretty good. Our takeoff, our landing weight in both instances is below the max landing. Our max zero fuel weight is below, and we actually have a little bit of space to bring some things back home with us. A couple of things to note here. When I entered the de-icing fluid weight, I simply put it to max. The system assumed that you're going to use the max in doing that calculation. Your weight and balance landing, depending on how much you use, will be somewhere in this line in here. The other thing to note is when the app calculates fuel used for the landing balance figure, it takes the fuel out from the last tank first and works its way back up to the main tank. So in our case, we had 350 pounds in the main and 70 in the auxiliary tank. The 70 is taken off in its entirety, and then whatever's remaining is left in the main. A third tank down would continue to follow that pattern. Last thing we can do, of course, is we can send this information to an AirPrint compatible printer in PDF format, or we can simply email it or text it. And all these calculations, along with this chart, will be sent in PDF format to that destination. You can also take this aircraft data itself, the Seafrog DA-42 aircraft, and airdrop that or email it to another aero weight and balance user that you might happen to know. And that's the end of the video here and the end of the 3-video series. I hope by looking at all these you get a good understanding of the app, and maybe it becomes useful to you and you can buy it and recommend it to all your friends and make millions of dollars for me. Thank you very much and have a great day.